Hello, welcome to my channel or welcome back. Today I have an update on my Pan That palette. So if you want to know more about my progress from this past month, then please keep watching. For my Pan That palette, I am trying to complete this Ulta Beauty palette that I've had for some years now. It was a free gift with purchase. Definitely not a favorite palette. I know some people, they look at with all the usage that it's been having. They're like, oh, you must really love this palette. It's like, no, but I thought it would be a fun challenge because I've never fully panned a palette. So why not? I have done things where I've hit pan in every shade in a palette, which is also a challenge. But yeah, this is definitely a little bit more involved. So last month, I definitely had some goals to try to finish the dark green shimmer and trying to, keep up use on the highlighter. The blush shade kind of needed some more usage, things like that. So let me just go ahead and, give the rundown. So the first three shades in the palette were already completed before this month. And then this past month, I used the next shade, which is kind of a blush, but I discovered I actually liked it as a bronzer. So because I was using it as a bronzer, I was able to get a lot of more uses in than I had been. I used it 20 times and it is complete. Then the next shade, the dark green, you'll see is also complete. This one took me an additional 9 times. I actually finished it the same day that I did the bronzer blush kind of shade, so that was good. Now, the next two shades, they're definitely in it for the long haul. If you've been here, I've been using them in my brows. That's just, I do a little bit of tapping in the one shade and then the other shade, and then that's usually enough for one brow, then I do it again for the second brow. So the gray shade, sometimes I use them also, not the gray one as much. The maroon one, I will use it in some eye looks. So sometimes the uses are not, identical. So the gray one I used 31 times, and you might be like, wow, that's kind of hard to do. But sometimes I do my makeup multiple times in a day because I volunteer at the school, and so I might do my makeup, for something if I'm going to be there for a bit in the morning, and then I come back, I end up, doing a workout and stuff, and then, do my makeup a second time, things like that. The maroon shade I used 34 times. So like I said, that one I can kind of use a little bit more. I like the shade of that as an eyeshadow. I'm not a big gray eyeshadow fan, so yeah, that one's more just brows. But yeah, so even though they are not close to being done, I don't know. I feel I've used them so many times in this project, I'm kind of losing track. So the gray shade alone, I've used 136 times. The maroon shade I've used 129 times. Let me just go back and tell you for the bronzer blush shade, I have used it a total, and this is for this year. Obviously, I've used it before this year, 47 times this year. The dark green shimmer I used 33 times. That shade was very crumbly, so that was part of the reason it didn't take that many more uses to finish it off. And then we have the highlighter shade, which I think you'll also notice some good progress on. I've used it an additional 22 times this past month. That brings me to a total of 41 uses, I believe. Sometimes these counts might be a little bit off from, if you go back and if something's a little bit off, it's just to give you an idea, okay? So I'm sure there's also times when sometimes I forget to mark things down. So, there's that. But yeah, so 41 times so far. For the maroon and the gray shade, I kind of feel like I haven't even used half of what's there. So I feel like there's easily another 100 uses. Now that still is then reasonable to finish by the end of this year, I feel like, since it's a regular thing. The highlighter shade also has been doing pretty well. I feel like that one maybe could be done within the next month. So, I don't need as much of that as the bronzer. Also, the other thing is that because it gets so hard to get to in there that I end up usually kind of using one of my tools and scraping a little bit, and then the loose powder that forms, I use that then with my brush. So I might just start doing that with the highlighter shade. So that will make it go a little faster probably as well, because right now it's I'm just kind of digging into the corners there. But yeah, I feel like I have done really well. And overall for this palette, so last month it was 53 and 1500 grams. This month is 51 and 9300 grams. So that means I used 1 and 2200 grams. Also, just to point out, from the start of the year, it was 56 and 4200 grams. So that means I've used about 4.5 grams of, is it exactly 4? It's almost exactly 4.5 grams of product, which this palette started with, well, that doesn't make any sense. This says it started with 3 and 3600 grams. Well, someone is not telling the truth. So all I can do is go off of with my scale. My scale is probably not perfect, but yeah, I don't know. Did I do that math wrong? No. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, according to that math, I should have been done this palette already. So yeah, I'm not sure. But that is where we stand at this point. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date on how it's going with this palette, then maybe you'll subscribe to my channel. And until my next video, I hope you'll be doing well, and I'll see you then. Bye! Thank you so much for watching. If you want to, I feel like this is like flashing you, but I don't know. I guess it's, I don't know, that's a little distracting. All right, we'll stop that.